Okay, guys and girls, welcome back to FTRL for a brand new season of Gran Turismo Sports. We are in our 8th season now, so time is flying by. Joining me once again, we're reforming the dream team. Hello, Pagani.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy? All right?
Not too bad.
Good.
Teammates in GT, you know, teammates in commentary.
I know, can't get away from you. Well, brand new season, mate. Brand new cars, brand new drivers. It's all going on.
It is indeed. I mean, there's some fantastic liveries. I must say.
Yeah, definitely is right. Well, we thought we'd go live sort of a few minutes early tonight because we obviously have a lot to talk about, and gives the viewers an understanding of who's in what car and whatnot, some changes to the structure and whatnot. So do you want to talk us through some of the new car selections and the change of team format, Pagani?
Cool. Well, as people may see from the cars on track, 99% of the cars race we had last season has been thrown out the window. So no more very quick BMWs, aka Tom. But no. So for this season, we've got confirmed teams of Alfa Romeo, Mitsubishi, McLaren, Volkswagen, and Citroen. Now, for GT2, that is some fantastic cars. But not only that, we've gone from 2-car teams to 3-car teams, which makes it a lot more of a team game. You have to work together now. So strategy is going to be very important in both races. That you've got to run together in qualifying. You have to work together. Like, if you don't, you're going to be last.
Yeah.
No one wants to be last. Well, they'll be in front of Zach, obviously. But
well, let's yeah. So like I said, we've got 3 drivers per team now, so five teams on the grid, of 5 different manufacturers, should I say, with 3 people per team. So that leaves 1 permanent commentary slot every week, as unfortunately the lobbies are quite small on Gran Turismo, so we have to make do with what we've got. And we've got a few people that have actually dropped down from GT1. So one of the people that we're on board with here, funnily enough, they've all gone on the same team, as a surprise to absolutely nobody. It is SBY, Donzo, and Peatman, who are representing Team Alfa Romeo this season. So I'm expecting a I'm expecting a good showing from these guys. Now, obviously, GT1 has become like a real alien division, so everybody's extremely quick in there. I mean, these guys are very, very fast themselves, but it was just those few tenths. That's all it was, I think, per lap, that these guys were just ever so slightly off in some areas, and obviously that makes it incredibly difficult when you're racing with people that are so stupidly fast. I'm expecting these guys to be right up the top of this division. Who are you most looking forward to watching out of these 3, mate?
I'm gonna say it. I mentioned it in the F1 stream last night. I really enjoy watching Peatman race.
Yeah, same.
He's a fantastic driver, the cleanest you'll ever see, and very rarely puts a foot wrong. So I expect him to go very well. Obviously, I've been teammates with SBY, so there's a little bit there. I always want to see him do well. And Donzo is a stalwart of FTRL now, so yeah. But we do have a returnee.
We do.
We do. And we can't forget about him, and otherwise we'll receive hell. Yeah, Junkie Sport has come back to us, and he is back in GT2. I said back, he's moved to GT2. But, I mean, with everyone else, must have got this the OAP division now. But.
Yeah. It is, yeah, well and truly. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Obviously, he's in the Citroen this season, which is a car that you and I will be driving in GT1. So he's in there alongside FTRL Zomwa and FTRL Switchback. So they've all got pretty much matching liveries. The only thing that's different is the front of their cars. I think Switchback's got a nice green. Not City Bosch. Zom's got a bit. Has he got a purple on his car? Is it? Oh no, sorry. Switchback's got the purple. Zom's got the green, and Junkie Sport's got the orange, I believe. So faint differences. But all looks very, very smart indeed. So, oh, as smart as I say that, Junkie Sport has a massive moment. Alsace. So before we get into some of the other teams, mate, let's have a quick chat about Alsace. Obviously, you know the track very, very well. What should we expect to see from everybody this evening?
Probably very high tyre wear. It is a tyre killer. But it's a very difficult track to be perfect every lap. It is critical. Like, if you make a mistake, it will cost you 3 or 4 seconds. I mean, there's walls everywhere, but you bounce off them at weird angles.
Yeah.
So if you catch a wall, you're probably going to spin.
Every single corner seems to be like off camber or just a different height. It's so strange, isn't it? It's a very technical track. You really have to put... Go on.
Very short pit lane.
Yeah, tiny little pit lane.
Which opens up different strategies. I mean, it's only a 25-minute race, but you're not guaranteed to just see the one-stop around here. Especially on that VW. That VW Scirocco is front-wheel drive, so it is very, very quick. But that comes at front tyre life. So
yeah, big time.
I mean, I know Nexus Iceman hasn't had the time to practice as he had to reinstall the game, so it's sort of he's been thrown in at the deep end. But he didn't practice last season, so and that turned out fairly well for him. So
I'm just looking. Sorry to jump in. I'm just looking at the time that SBY has set. A 59.5. If I'm not mistaken, that is really fast. I'm sure.
Slow,
Yeah, last season because we did this, didn't we, in GT1?
We did.
And that would have been right up there that time. That's a fantastic lap from him. 1.2 seconds quicker than anybody else has gone so far. So the Alpha's looking pretty strong at this opening track. Right, let's talk Team Mitsubishi. We have got Co-Andy. We have got Prototype Steph. And we have the absent Zombie for this evening. Now, Prototype Steph in his Deadpool car. And yeah, Co-Andy in what can only be described as a... Well...
I think it's a death wagon.
Yeah, that's a great shout, a death wagon. Right, just before we start qualifying, quick word on the Mitsubishis, and then we'll touch on the McLarens and the VWs. We'll give them a proper introduction shortly. So, Co-Andy, Prototype Steph, and Zombie.
Mitsubishi team is fantastic. Steph, during the mid-season last season, got some very good results. A couple of podiums in there. You got Co-Andy, he's very good in a Group 4 car.
Yeah.
Whether he takes the Group 3, I'm not sure, but hopefully he takes it better than the Supra last season. And Zombie, didn't see the best of him last season in the Aston Martin. He's got more to give, I know for a fact. So when he can race, it'll be interesting to see. I think he'll definitely be pushing mid-grid this season.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the tyre wear of Co-Andy. The fronts are wearing extremely quickly. Well, in comparison to the rears, it's heavily on those front tyres.
That is the only problem with a four-wheel drive car. It does tend to wear front tyres a little bit more than the rears.
Yeah, so we're interested to see whether Deluxe can have the same problems this season. He's had a few.
Moved his rig, he's now on a Ethernet cable rather than the Wi-Fi, so fingers crossed.
Exactly. Well, qualifying is about to start. 12 minutes.
It is indeed. It sounds a lot of time, but when you boil down to it, you only get maybe 2 laps, 3 laps if you're very lucky.
Yeah, 3 laps at most. So who's first out on track that looked like an Alfa Romeo is Donzo. So Donzo, Peatman and SBY have all managed to get out pretty quickly. City Posh splitting him. Let's talk McLaren then. Oh, who's that in the pits? I saw somebody having a bit of a nightmare with the pit glitch.
Unsafe release is mentioning the word glitch. So.
Okay, well we'll have to restart the lobby.
think I'm back. I think Unsafe did have it a couple of times last season as well, unfortunately, which effectively cost him a good run, especially the Group 3 championship. It wasn't that far off the overall championship.
He wasn't at all. Cool. Right. Well, we're going to be waiting on a restart so we can talk a little bit more. Okay. So the McLaren lineup, like I said, we have Unsafe Release, we have City Posh Blue, and we have, who is their teammate? Deluxe.
It is indeed.
So that's this is a strong lineup, providing they can all get on the grid together. That's going to be the biggest hurdle that those guys have to overcome.
I mean, you have that McLaren to race in the Nations Cup. So
I certainly do.
Are you driven? Now, how do you feel about that car? Is it one you enjoy driving? Or?
It's a very nice car. I mean, it handles extremely well. It's just, I don't know. For me, it just lacks that little bit of oomph. I don't know how I can describe that anymore. So what I'll do is I'll change to that so everybody can see it. Whenever we'll view the car, view the McLaren whilst we're waiting for the new lobby to go up. So yeah, in the Nations Cup livery for yours truly, just there. So the McLaren's a gorgeous looking car, but no, I mean it handles really well. The tyre wear is not awful. The fuel depletion isn't awful. There's nothing that stands out about the car, but then there's nothing that particularly lets it down. Like I said, it just seems to have lacked that little kick, that little final piece to the puzzle that you really want to get out of it. It was a car that I was really interested in having this season, but like I said, there was just something in the back of my mind which made me not push to have that as a top choice. But nevertheless, it is extremely enjoyable to drive. So.
You said SBY got into the 159s, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, I've just come back and done my homework. And there was 2 cars inside the 159s.
Yeah.
In GT1.
I did think that.
That was the Toyotas of Froome and Seeger.
Yeah, so that's stupidly fast from SBY. So he has been putting in the mileage. We'll get more in depth with the drivers as we go through qualifying and whatnot, because I mean it's all fun and games to sit here and talk everybody up and so on, but I mean as commentators and as people that run the league itself, I think it's also important to maybe point out a few areas improvement for people, things that we have been used to seeing with certain drivers and whatnot, and where they can maybe capitalise on it this season. So we'll go on that. One final team which we'll discuss is the little infamous trio of Nexus Cats, Nexus Iceman and Gravity, and those gentlemen will be driving the Volkswagen for this season. So they've got the Scirocco Group 4, as you mentioned earlier on, and they have got the Volkswagen Beetle, a car you adore, Pagani, as their Group 3. No, for those that know Pagani in any way, shape or form, know he despises that car, so it should be interesting to see. Just checking in on the stream chat quickly. We've got Zom in there, Lennon's in there, already given his predictions for the entire championship. Our GT1 champion T Smith's in there, Grandad Bob's in there, Flying Throme's in there. Good evening to you all, Mikey as well. Thank you all very much for joining us.
We've got a bunch of noobs and your Grandad Bob.
Well, you can include him in that as well, I suppose.
I mean, I'm being nice, but But yeah, that Scirocco is probably one of the quickest Group 4 cars. But you have to fight the tyre wear with it. So it might be a 2-stop race for those guys.
Yeah.
And the Beetle, it's a car I physically despise and it makes me ill. But
there's a big however here, Pagani. Even you can't deny this.
It is probably the easiest car to just get in and drive quick. Like, it inspires confidence in the driver. I mean, if you'd picked it for our team car, I'd have quit. But
I mean, it was up there though. It was up there. Let's not lie to people. It was up there for us.
Like that. But no, it is a very strong package, is the VW team. So
it is, and to be fair, we saw some we saw some cracking driving from Nexus Cats last season, Nexus Iceman in spells. Obviously Gravity came back into it quite late, but I mean, I'm expecting good things. If these guys take this seriously and they genuinely put the time in, they can honestly do well. Nexus Cats was in areas one of my drivers of the season, especially for the first half of last season. And then I don't know whether it was Gravity coming in that maybe took him off his, line and direction. He something seemed to
for it, didn't he? If he hadn't missed that, he'd have been right up there for the championship battle at the end.
Yeah.
It's all about consistency, GT.
It certainly is. So, I'm going to put you on the spot, Pagani. I'm going to ask you for your early pick before we've even done a lap. Who is going to be your pick for the season? Who's your
my pick for the season? For the season, I'm going to go Steph.
Think Steph's going to win it?
I always love watching Steph race. He's always clean. I think it's about time he deserves something nice coming up. He puts the time in, and on his day, he's probably one of the quickest.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Now, I'm torn. I am very, very torn. I've got 3, possibly 4 drivers. I will pick one, but I'll tell you who they are.
Right.
So, first of all, we have Co-Andy. Now, he just gets better and better, and we know how good he is. Especially on Formula 1 and whatnot. Like I said, he's an extremely good racer, a really good driver, very respectful and everything. I love racing Andy. He's one of my favourite people to race. So he's one of my first choices. My second choice, reluctantly, is FTRL Switchback. He's in a very, very quick car. He's had a season under his belt in the Toyota, which he didn't get on with. However, I know full well that having Junkie Sport and Zom as teammates, they're all going to be talking, they're going to keep each other motivated, and he can be quick. As much as we like to give him, a bit of stick here and there, he can be fast. Choice number 3, I mean, his unsafe release is up there for me. However, my biggest concern with him is the occasional glitch. But then I'm looking at one of these 3 alphas, and to be fair, out of the 3 of them, I'll probably say Peatman. But who I think I'm going to have as my tip to win the championship before it's even started, City Posh Blue.
McLaren. Yeah, I knew that was coming.
I think he is just superb. I think City Posh Blue, I love racing him, I love chatting to him. Everything about City Posh Blue in racing games is just superb, I think. Now, has anybody got the glitch? It looks like everybody's alright. Oh dear. Nope, Deluxe. There we go.
Oh no.
Yeah, Deluxe already having the problems, unfortunately. So yes, there'll be no racing from Deluxe this evening, unfortunately. He's having a weird pit glitch, so he will be starting stationary in the race if he manages to get off the line. But yeah, City Posh Blue, I'm going to say it before we've even had the first qualifying session. He's my tip for the season. Let us know in the stream chat who you guys are betting on this season. Also, Junkie Sport is well up there as well for me. However, obviously the question marks were, again, just the consistency of him. Like I said, I know he's been putting in the time and effort and whatnot, but as I've said to him time and time again, as soon as he puts too much pressure on himself, sometimes he can crumble. So I hope that doesn't happen for him this season, as we all know him extremely well, especially myself. I want nothing more than for him to have a brilliant season, but there's just that slight question mark about that. But this is where, as commentators, we have to speak the truth. It's sort of, we can love people all we like, but we're here to do a job.
He has been getting a little bit of guidance this on the off season.
I know,
so
yeah. I wonder who that was from.
Don't want to say anything, but he's a 3-time champ.
Yeah. Well, I thought Joe Burns had moved to Xbox, but
he's only a 2-time champ.
Right, well, Lennon's in there saying
loss on turnip.
anyone in the top 14 to win it. Cheers, Lennon. T. Smith is saying SBY to win the championship. I'm on board with him now. I'm going to watch him do the first hot lap of the season. Catami's saying Nexus Cats will be champ. Well done to you last night, Catami's, mate. I thought you drove really well. So, genuinely pleased to see that, mate. Well done. Lennon then come back and said Carl, so Junkie Sport. And FTRL Blue Flag has said unsafe and Deluxe are cursed.
Nexus Iceman's done a half spin before he starts his first lap, which
Yeah.
is not how you want to start a lap.
Flying Throne is saying SBY and Div 2. Yeah, he is, yeah. We got the so we've had SBY, Donzo, Peatman and Junkie Sport have all dropped down to GT2 for this season. So on board, I'm going to take it. I can actually figure out how to do on boards now, Pagani. I know, it's great.
I know it's a lot easier in qualifying than it is in the rest.
I will be asking you to take us on a hot lap at some point as well, because you're a bit of a wizard with Alsace.
That I used to be once upon a time.
Well, SBY is getting a nice tow from Junkie Sport here. Oh, hello. Nearly gone.
So with that Alpha, if you clip the
There he
glass
goes.
wheel,
Yeah. Now,
it's susceptible.
okay, so SBY has just gone off. We saw him do a 59.5, so we know the pace is there. However,
Pressure is on now.
is it going to be the pressure? Like I said, sometimes I feel like a lot of these guys, especially the ones that have all come down, sometimes the pressure has been their biggest downfall. They've had pace in a lot of places, but always had a great run. Junkie Sport is in front of him. Is he going to catch up to him before the line? For his sake, I hope not. But he might outbrake Junkie Sport here and hit the back of him going into the penultimate corner. Let's hope that's not the case. I think he's going to be safe. I mean, he's had a nice tow off of him here, so even with the spin, Donzo's gone with a 2. Yeah, SPY's nearly 2 seconds off his fastest time. Okay.
Well, for reference, that 2:06 is quicker than I did in qualifying last season.
Yeah, the Alphas look strong. I think there's going to be a lot of tracks this season where particular cars are going to be more suited to others. So it looks like it's going to be all about the Alpha in this first race.
Well, Switchback has got a convoy of VW Scirocco's behind him currently.
Yeah, it certainly does. Well, I'm just looking in the stream chat. FTRL Rom Elson, who's the Nations Cup admin, has said restart. We've already had one restart, so unfortunately no more. Academy saying driving well. I exploded Iceman in Bahrain. Not too sure what that means, but nevertheless, I'm trying to pay you a compliment, Academies. Frome is coming saying SPY will be right up there, I'm sure. I also agree. Let's just hope that the pressure doesn't pay too much of an issue. Mikey's in there saying City Posh Blue supporter this season, and Grandad Bob has come in with Junkie Sport to win. So there we go. Right, is anybody lining up to come and do a fast lap? I believe Junkie Sport is. So in a
just done a 2:52.
yeah, so I mean he's quite a way off the pace at this point. But in a second, Pagani, I'm going to ask you to take us on a hot lap with FTRL Junkie Sport.
Oh, he's gonna love that when he watches his back.
I know he is. A couple of digs in there, just for old time's sake. Obviously, it's in a car that you and I are going to be running this season, so.
It is indeed. I mean, hopefully we don't have as much moonshining as his livery does, but.
Right, final corner, and away you go, Pagani, mate.
It gets a nice exit at the start of the lap, which is always a good start. Coming into turn when you want to brake just as the curve starts. Maybe a little bit early on the apex, but still gets a nice run. Got SBY in front of him, giving a little bit of a slipstream up the hill. If there's one place the Citroen does lack, it's probably acceleration, so he'll be enjoying a little bit of slipstream. You got a flat left curve, which is fantastic, especially in a little bit quicker cars. Braking point for the right-hander is important. Runs a little deep, but gets a nice late apex. SPY still giving him that slipstream. This left-hander, it is off camber on the exit, so you do run a little bit wide. Cuts it just nice, stays within the white line. Again, you want to brake on the curb for the right hand, little bit late. Loses the back end on entry, but clips the exit curb. Still getting that slipstream off SPY. Clips the apex curb for the right hander. Now this left hander goes away from you, so you want to carry as little speed as possible through it. Gets a nice, well, I say apex, but around the middle of the road, carries the camber of the road through the corner. This long right hander is very difficult. Drops to fourth, keeps momentum through the corner. Doesn't clip the grass on exit, which is fine. Clips the curb, which is nice. Braking point for this left hander is very difficult because it leads immediately into this right hand hairpin. Got to get it slowed down. Stays on that apex nicely. Still getting that slipstream from SPY. Was purple in the first sector. Left hander again. It runs off camber on exit, but he keeps it on the track. Now through this Gran Turismo bridge. The second bridge is where you're looking for your braking point. Again, clips that brake nice. Maybe a little bit early. It's a very nice apex. Opens the entry phase for the last corner. Doesn't clip the wall on the right. It's going to be 2-minute-1. Yes, indeed. Puts him up to third place, so he's the only car so far to get in with those Alfa Romeos.
Okay, nicely done. So Donzo is still currently your man on pole position. So remembering that the pole position will get you 2 points before the first race has even started.
Oh, I shouldn't read the chat.
Yeah, I've just seen my granddad's in there. It's referring to my nan, saying has gone outside to give all the key workers the clap. So, thank you, Grandad. These, for God's sake. Right, more. Oh, this is why I should never tell him when I'm commentating, because he'll just sit there and put me off. Okay, right. So everybody's looking to basically setting up now to be on their final qualifying lap. So 2.5 minutes left. It's looking like the Alpha boys are going strong. We've got 3 of them, well, all 3 of them inside the top 4. Then we've got a Citroen either side of Peatman, who I imagine will be looking to go a little bit quicker and maybe push himself up into P3, possibly even P2. He's only a couple of tenths off. Switchback seems to be a couple of tenths off the pace, as does Steph, and there seems to be a bit of a gap to the rest. So the Alphas at this point are looking pretty strong.
Getting a bad feeling about unsafe release.
In what sense?
2:02 and it hasn't updated on the time board.
Oh dear. May not be able to get off the line, unfortunately, no. Well, we have committed, for those that are watching, 2:01 from SPY, so there we go. He has put himself over half a second in front of his teammate. Now let's talk Alfa Romeos. Donzo's responded and missed out by 0.07 of a second. Now where is Peatman? Let's see what he can do. Is he coming around to complete a lap, or is he coming around to set one up?
I think he's completing a lap.
Well, let's talk about the Alphas while we're here, Pagani. Obviously, we've seen all 3 of them up in GT1. We've seen them compete with us on several occasions, like myself and yourself, obviously, towards the front of the grid. However, it's always just sort of fallen short for them sometimes. Do you think it's more of a case of the pressure slightly, and maybe pushing a little bit too hard?
I think they just want to impress, they want to have some fun with the race, and then I think just maybe GT1 wasn't the place for that. I think in GT2 they will shine. They are 3 very quick drivers and what looks a very quick Group 4 car, so he's hoping everything clicks together this season.
Well, yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so indeed. Well, I'm hoping that the Alphas have a good season. Like I said, I feel like there may be some tussles between the three of them along the way. I think they'll all be eager to try and put themselves up towards the top. And now we just obviously have to guard them against complacency as well. So it's all well and good dropping down to GT2, but these guys are not as slow as you would think. The gap is not that much different between the two divisions now. And GT1, let me just say, is the strongest it has ever been. So
GT1, you can go from winning one race to finishing 12th in the next.
Yep. Now I'm wondering, Pagani, whether unsafe releases lap, because Peatman done a 201.0 and that didn't register either. So I'm wondering whether maybe they've had like started as an invalidated lap, possibly.
Yeah.
That could have been a thing. Yeah.
I'll anticipate to see unsafe release a lot quicker than a 213.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hope it's alright and he gets into the race.
Well, Peatman is currently 2.5 temps up, nearly, on his time.
BY and Donzo have finished qualifying for them, as has Junkie Sport.
Okay, so Junkie Sport's currently the man splitting the Alphas. FTRL Switchback has jumped up into P3. Good lap from him. Peatman's coming round towards the final couple of corners. One of the most popular men on the grid, Peatman. Everybody wants to see him do well. Nice and steady.
He's Mr. FTRL at this point.
He certainly has. He's more involved in FTRL than me.
He jumps Junkie Sport.
He does, he moves up into P4.
That is tight at the front.
Oh, of course, sorry. Unsafe release, because I obviously had the pit glitch in the first session, wasn't able to compete in qualifying, so he's having to start last, just in case we have the glitch where all of the cars go stationary at the start. So that's a rule we've implemented, because obviously we saw last season a couple of cars couldn't get off the grid and then they were just stationary at the start and loads of people crashed into them and it caused a huge pile up. So obviously we're trying to avoid that at all costs, so that's the reason why unsafe release wasn't able to be up towards the front. However, I would anticipate him coming through the field and having a good race. So good luck to all the drivers as we prepare for lights out for the start of season number 8 in FTRL. We are 5 red lights and away we go. Switchback's had a good start. He's had a very good start.
Simon has launched off the line.
He has. He's going to try and go around the outside of SB White.
It is possible.
It's ballsy.
I went for the cutback, tried to get Donzo in it.
Certainly has. Let me just scoot down and see if unsafe yet. Unsafe release has managed to get off the line, so we're all good. Okay, Switchback is attacking Donzo for the race lead. He's now currently in the race lead. Is Donzo going to send it a bit more? Switchback
On the outside.
around the outside. Donzo gives him a little tap. Manages to hold the lead. Good racing. Switchback a man possessed at this point. SPY coming back.
Challenge from Junkie Sport. It was just in front of Andy. Those two Mitsubishis have got off the line fairly well.
Yeah, I saw Switchback gave SPY a little bit of a tap there on the approach. But moving down the grid, here we've got Co-Andy, who's competing with Junkie Sport as well as Prototype Steph. Co-Andy down the inside. Junkie Sport holds it.
Well, the front three are making a breakaway.
Obviously there's no mandatory tyre in this, so everybody's free to do what they please. The Group 4 race is more of a sprint race.
Well, I'm wondering what happened to Peatman, and he's battling, trying to get around the outside of Condi into the hairpin. Zom's in that fight as well. Zom gets Peatman under brakes.
And Pete's got him back, yeah. Yeah, Zom came in hot there, didn't he? Gravity's fighting with Zom as well now. Peatman's had a bit of a rocky start, but I imagine that he will find his way back through the field where he needs to be. We have the legendary Max in the chat. Good evening, Max. Nice to see you, mate.
Well, Switchback has made his move. He's got into P1, but there's a pair of Alfa Romeos very hot on his heels.
Oh, Donzo, big send.
Little bit of contact.
Yeah, this is one of the things that we may see from the Alphas from time to time. Okay, Lee's in the chat saying Peatman got caught out by that clash with SPY and Switchback. Okay, oh, the SPY moved over in front of Switchback there. Switchback's trying a little bit too hard at this point, I think. Now, just everybody who's watching the stream, please let me know, is the game sound high enough? Obviously, the game can be quite overpowering at times, so I've turned it right down. So it's obviously the audio for commentary coming through stronger. Would you like me to knock it up one for a little bit more game sound?
Andy's trying on the outside of Pete. And he's still trying, but I think Pete has to tell him. But Andy's very good on the brakes. Gets the move done, but Pete was looking for the switch back.
Yeah, Andy's gone grass cutting.
I mean, the Mitsubishi is a very good rally car, but not in Group 4, guys.
Maybe not for that. Unsafe Release has moved his way up to P9 already. So the McLaren driver, in his gorgeous blue livery, is making waves. His Excise Man has a massive wiggle. City Posh Boo not enjoyed the best start, all the way down in P12. And the Citroen of Zom, stone dead last at this point. He must have had a moment somewhere. But I imagine City Posh Blue, who I tipped for the title, come on, come on, City Posh, embarrass me.
Well, SPY's made a break. He's got 1.3 seconds. He's very close to being outside slipstream range.
Okay, a couple of people saying that you're slightly quiet. If you can just knock your mic up a touch, mate, if you don't mind. It's odd with this game sometimes because I can hear you perfectly well. It's just the background, I think.
What can Switchback do about the Sirens, about the Alfa Romeos in front, besides flashing his headlights at them?
Yeah.
For reference, he's not doing that because he's annoyed, he just cannot not press the button, so...
Well, I've got Lee in the chat saying Aaron is to City Posh Blue what Michael is to him in Formula 1, just an absolute jinx. So, anyway, back to the race. So SPY has got a 1.4 second gap to Donzo, who's in P2, currently holding off Switchback by about half a second, and who has his teammate Junkie Sport just over a second behind. So Junkie Sport, I'll be pleased, sitting in P4. Then we've got Peatman down in P5, a prototype Steph, and
a little bit wide in the background.
Yeah, prototype Steph close with Co-Andy, the other Mitsubishi in P7. Gravity having a bit of a tough time in that VW, which tyre wear is awful already.
He's having a tough time, but he is currently the quickest in the VW.
Yeah, Nexus catches his teammate right behind him, unsafe release into P10.
The McLarens are struggling a little bit more than what I anticipated.
Yeah.
Let's say if you're missing a little bit just here and there, the Group 3 will definitely be stronger for the McLaren team.
Yeah, I mean tyre wear tends to be quite high around this track anyway, I think. City Posh Blue down in 12, he's struggling at the minute. Very much so. Donzo's now starting to pull away from Switchback slightly, so the tyre wear on those Alphas are non-existent.
I mean, you say City Posh is struggling. If you go back and look at his tyre wear, you'll find out why he's struggling. He's got no tyres left.
Yeah. He needs to get in ASAP and do a two-stop with the softs, I think. But yeah, he's really struggling, City Posh.
I believe he might have an ABS glitch because I've just seen red outline on his front tyres.
Right.
He's in the pits. I'm guessing going to the soft tyre from the Super.
Peatman 3/10 behind Junkie Sport as they go through turn 2 in towards the tight hairpin right of turn 3.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that Pete would make his own way back through the field. He's doing that now.
Yeah, certainly is.
That blue and white combination on Peatman's Alfa Romeo is just...
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? There you go, Pete on the outside of Junkie Sport. Nope, he does go purple in the first sector though. So Pete looking strong.
I mean, I have tried to get past Junkie Sport while he was in a Citroen. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
No. It's a very odd looking car, the Citroen. It is a Vision car.
It is indeed. I mean, hopefully none of the boys in Citroen team are using cockpit cam, otherwise they won't see anything.
No. Just to give everybody an understanding of what it's like in the cockpit cam for the Citroen. Oh, okay, it's now not going to let me show you. That's annoying. It was letting me in qualifying, but yeah.
Next Iceman's running a little bit wide rather than the
Oh,
very long
Peteman going to go side by side with Junkie Sport. He lifts off slightly. Nice and patient driver is Peteman. Junkie Sport won't give an inch.
Tyre wear is beginning to show for a lot of cars. Besides the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, I think these Alphas have probably got this in the bag, 1, 2, 3. Purely because of tyre wear. I can't believe how good that car is on tyres.
But what I am seeing is the Alfa Romeo is wearing the rear tyres a lot more. Like,
oh, Pete. Oh, that was close. Sent up the inside of Junkie Sport at turn 1. Left the car there. That could have quite easily ended in tears. SBY maintaining the 1.8 gap to Donzo down in P2, has now got 2.5 seconds to FTRL switchback. So this is an Alfa Romeo 1-2 quite comfortably at the moment.
Gravity has entered pit lane in the VW.
Yeah, the two Mitsubishis are running P6 and P7 respectively. The tyre wear is not looking superb.
Andy's just got past Steph
Yeah.
a little deep.
Nexus Cat's leading the VW charge.
Side by side with Junkie, gets the move done under brakes. Junkie tries to hold on around the outside, but the move is done. Pete is up to 4th.
So this is where we need to see Junkie Sport take his time, not try and rush, and get the position back, which is exactly what he's doing. There we go. So going back to my earlier comment, those sorts of things is where we can see the improvements. It's just a simple case of recognising your battles at this stage of the race. I know nobody wants to give up any form of positions, but yeah, not the greatest move.
You've got to be in the fight at the end of the race. The start of the race, nothing really matters.
Exactly. So luckily he's up against Pete, who's probably the most respectful driver on the grid. But who's going to make the first move?
Expecting to see Steph coming in very soon because he's nearly halfway down on his front tyres.
Yeah, Andy isn't far behind. However, let's look at some fuel. The Citroen's not looking amazing on the fuel. Junkie Sport's a little worse off than Switchback. Is any of them going to come into the pits? Nope. So at the moment, I mean, I do think Pete might be the quickest car on track. He's just having a nightmare trying to get past Junkie Sport. Steph does come into the pits, as you quite rightly say. I imagine everybody else will be making their stops at the end of the next lap.
It looks like most of the cars at the front anyway, trying to go for the one stop straight down the middle.
Yep. Well, you've got Zom sitting down in P10 at the minute in the Citroen. Not had the best of starts to the season so far, but obviously it's very, very early days. No teams using their wild card this week. Obviously that comes into effect, where anybody that chooses to use it for that particular round of races will be awarded double points.
And I think going on this form, Alfa Romeo might be wishing they had used it.
Yeah, absolutely.
First, second and a fifth currently.
Whilst it's all kind of died down a little bit, Pagani, let's talk about the importance of using the wild card. Obviously we've seen firsthand, you know, the tactical battles that people have and whatnot. When do you think is a sensible time to play it? Like, would you just go with your strongest tracks? Would you wait until an opportunity presents itself in the league possibly? What's kind of your thought process around the wild card?
I think you've got to use your head with it, because you don't want to use it at a track where there's a lot of other wild cards being used. So I know from experience that us last season as Aston Martin, like, we looked at the penultimate race, but we thought, yeah, a lot of cars are going to be strong, and there was a lot still to go wild card wise. I think 5 teams used it, or 4 teams used it the penultimate race. And if we'd used it, we wouldn't have won the Constructors' Championship.
No. I mean, we literally used ours final week of the season, and we won the championship by using our wild card, and for the sake of you getting pole position, we beat the BMW team of T. Smith and Rom. Yeah, by literally 2 points. Is Pete going to carry on? Pete has carried on.
Well, SBY's carried on as well. So.
Interesting.
However, Pete has better front left tyre wear than SBY. So, but I mean, just for reference, if you look at SBY's lap times, the consistency on those is fantastic.
He's been putting in the time, isn't he?
Yeah,
that's mad pace. Well, he's driving on his own. He's driving on his way to his the first race win of the season is SBY, and at the moment you can't argue it. Now I'll be interested to see. I mean, Junkie Sport has managed to jump switchback because he hasn't put any fuel in the car.
Well, I mean, that's going to require some fuel saving. There's a little bit past half distance.
Yeah.
And he's at least going to have to save at least 1 lap of fuel.
Yeah, he definitely is. Now, Pete with a massive slide, and he's round. Completely lost the back end of the car, and all that time he would have made up on Junkie Sport has now gone.
I was going to say, him not doing that pit stop the last lap might have just come back to bite him.
Yeah. Should have had faith in his own ability to get past Junkie Sport. I think he probably would have jumped him in the pits. Well, had Junkie Sport obviously put fuel in the car. Pete's going again. He's round. He's completely round. Those rear tyres are done. And it's turned into a nightmare race for Peteman.
Yeah, indeed. I'm lagging. So.
That's never good.
No. Like, cars are upside down for me, so this commentary could be interesting for the next couple of seconds.
Well, let's see how Pete gets around the final couple of corners. Let's hope the car doesn't slip out on him again. Yeah, he's having to literally dribble around the track. SPY, the race leader, has come into the pits, and Peteman is in as well. So SPY has come out just in front of Donzo. Pretty much identical fuel.
If nothing else shows it, that shows how knife-edged that this Alfa Romeo can be.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the fastest car on track and it snapped. He should have pitted 1 lap early, and
strategy is key in Gran Turismo.
Oh, Donzo and SBY side by side. Donzo gets the move done round the outside.
Unfortunately, I just missed that. I was looking at the Citroens, paying an interest on those guys, but yeah, sorry, Donzo.
So Donzo's taken the rest lead and got a 9/10 gap. So
there we go. Donzo's away. Okay. CJ's in the chat. Evening, mate. Good to see you. Blue flag in there. You can't go on board in races.
Has gone back past Junkie Sport. So Junkie Sport, we're trying to stem the slipstream of his teammate, trying to save that little bit of fuel.
Well, I'm interested to know who people think is going to win this race out of Donzo and SBY. All vote now. So who wants to be a millionaire? Let's do it.
Well, I mean, you'd expect both of them to be in parties together. They are very good mates. So hopefully they don't come to collisions. I think that's the last thing you want.
Lee saying SBY. Go on.
How nice it is to see a couple of cars in team formation.
Yeah.
You got the Alfa Romeos working together, you got the Citroens working together. We had the Mitsubishis working together earlier. Or I think last season it was only Team Aston Martin and GT1 that was working together. So it's nice to see a bit more teamwork, which is exactly why we put it to 3-car teams this season. I mean, I say that, there's only 2 cars working together at the moment, but yeah.
Well, it's a split decision in the chat, but most people are going with SBY. Peteman's made his way through the train of Nexus Cats, Gravity, Co-Andy, who are all scrapping down for P6. But Peteman's back up into P6 and chasing down Prototype Steph. I mean, if he can salvage a P5 out of this, it wouldn't be the worst result in the world, but for Pete, it's probably 2 points lost. SPY's getting the votes. We will keep an eye on it. I know we haven't given everyone else much airtime at this stage, but let's see what's happening between Co-Andy and Gravity. That Scirocco is... I mean, the tyre wear is horrendous.
Well, SBY has got the gap down to 410. He's a purple first sector. He's right on the heels of his teammate again.
Yeah, Co-Andy's through. I imagine he's going to be able to get away now just for that tyre wear. There's a battle in P11 between Unsafe and Nexus Iceman. But we're going to have to go back to that battle for the race lead. Is that Donzo and SPY? Oh, SPY slipped out slightly.
Trying the high side. It works at NASCAR, but I'm not so sure it works at Alsace.
And there he goes. SPY stalking his teammate. Just gone purple again. Is he going to hit the back of him? No, manages to keep it composed.
I mean, it's not the easiest thing to follow that closely to your teammate.
Well, I mean you do it to me.
I was going to say, I followed that closely to you before we were teammates and scared you off at Monza before.
Yeah, you scared me off, mate. I hate it.
So, but luckily you got used to it for last season, so...
Donzo, SPY, they are...
It's looking like Donzo's a little bit quicker through that last couple of corners.
Well, Switchback has got past Junkie Sport. Because they did switch over, but now they switch back. No pun intended.
Pete was 2.9 seconds behind Steph. It's now 1.3.
Yeah, let's just hope he has no accidents. And I don't mean weeing himself or something. I mean no spins or anything untoward. Prototype Steph going well. P5 in that Mitsubishi. Considering the strength of the four cars in front of him and the one behind, he's done well to put himself in the mix there. There's people around the outside of Prototype Steph. What a cracking move that was.
I think GT2 is going to let the boys that came down just flourish this season, show what they've got. I mean, Pete has probably not had the race he anticipated, but his fight back through the field on the first attempt and the second attempt has been fantastic.
Yeah, he's done very, very well indeed. So sorry to those that were watching that. Unfortunately, it all died, but we are back. So sorry to...
I'll just work on Sharon's again.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. Right, yeah, Peteman has got past Steph. Oh, he's now clattered into the wall, but we are looking at the final. This will be 3 laps, I would imagine, possibly 2. But in that battle for the lead, SPY has got past Donzo, and the gap is now 4/10 of a second.
You've got to get right is your fuel strategy. Like, will a couple of these boys be short on fuel?
Very good point. Junkie Sport. Oh, he's managed to... Oh, he has pitted. He's pitted and he's now 1 second ahead of Peakman, who is 4/10 ahead of Prototype Steph.
Well, we want to see Alfa Romeo sit-run battle. I mean, yes, Junkie Sport tyres are fresher, but not by much. Alfa Romeo's looking after the tyres.
There's not really any more battles on track. City Posh Blue, Stone did last at the minute. I think he will be quite gutted with that. Obviously the top 12 get points, only one person's going to miss out. Hello again Frome, hello again Lennon. Sorry about that, boys. For some reason it was just a bit of a PS server error popped up.
As per usual with PlayStation servers.
Oh yes. Well, SPY, lap 11 of the race, probably the penultimate one, has just gone purple in the middle sector. So he's probably going to be foolish to think that anybody else is going to win this at this stage, but for any mistakes. Switchback struggling on that tyre wear, but he's got enough of a gap. Now it's a straight out scrap between Junkie Sport and Peakman, so battle resumed. I
mean, it might be foolish, but you've also got to assert a little bit of team dominance. Like, if you win the first race, say, look, I'm here for the season. Like, if you want to win races, you've got to beat me, as he said, fastest lap.
Exactly. Cracking lap. 2:05. I mean, that's an insane time in terms of race pace as well.
That is half a second quicker than I did in qualifying last season.
In GT1, yeah, mad. Absolute madness. But Junkie Sport 1 second clear of Peteman. prototype Steph, not losing these guys, but I think he's probably going to have to settle for P6, but for an attack of his teammate Co-Andy down in P7. Zommer's managed to salvage himself back up to P8, so he's recovered pretty well, but he's got Gravity and Nexus Cat's tyre wear is just horrific. Look at the state of those front tyres.
I think Gravity's pitted again.
Yeah, he must have done.
And he's caught up his teammate, so
I
must admit,
yeah,
I would have thought the VWs would have two-stopped the race from the start. But
well, it's certainly going to make some of these guys think, I think, as across the season, because those VWs will not want to be that far down. Nexus Cats is typically one of the better Group 4 drivers that we've got, and GT2, and he's down in P10. City Posh Blue I'm shocked with. I thought he'd be up there, but I think we've definitely witnessed an ABS glitch with him, given by what we've seen so far.
I think we are, and I think you had it the first 2 races of last season, so
yeah,
you can tell us how that went.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Let's just put it that way. But Co-Andy's got past Steph, so I mean, considering the difference in tyres, I'm not surprised. I imagine this will be the final couple of laps for those guys. Pete is not managing to close the gap on Junkie Sport, who is, however, catching his teammate Switchback, but nowhere near enough to be able to do it in one final lap, I think. But SPY leading into the last lap, 1.5 seconds ahead of his teammate Donzo. I don't think either of these guys will be particularly bothered whether they finish first or second in this. I think they'll both be delighted to finish this high up. Donzo's best ever result in FTRL was a P2, and that was at Fuji, I believe, a few seasons ago.
Finish in front of me because I was trying to stay on the podium to try and win the championship in the Mustang.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, that was ages ago.
Yep. Well, Co-Andy and Steph across the line to finish the race for themselves, so we have the top 5 on the last lap.
Okay, well, I don't think we're going to see any changes for position, but at the moment, SPY, it's looking like it's going to be a maximum points tally for the first race of the season. So, pole position and the win. 2 seconds clear of his teammate Donzo, who, to be fair, has driven excellently as well. Switchback in P3, he's driven well to bring that Citroen home and compete with those Alphas as best as he can. Junkie Sport as well, I'm sure, but for any mistakes will be chuffed with a P4. A little bit of a shame about the incident with Pete earlier on. It was, but like I said, first race of the season, sometimes people will, you know, maybe leave the car in a little bit more than what they normally would, because they're obviously so eager for a good result. But nevertheless, let's go on board with SPY as he's coming around to complete the final sector of the first race of the season. Just trying to keep the car stable on track, even if he dribbles the car home at this point.
Well, just for consistency's sake, SBY has not done a lap in the 202s. Every single one has been a 201 or a 2 minute flat.
That is absolutely mad. Round the final corner, and SBY is your first GT2 winner of Season 8 in FTRL. What a performance. Fantastic job from Team Alfa Romeo. All 3 drivers inside the top 5. Good job from the 2 Citroens of Switchback and Junkie Sport as well to bring the cars home for P3 and P4 respectively. Pete had a big slide at the final corner, so Pete towards the end of his stint is certainly one to watch. Co-Andy and Steph for the Mitsubishis finished literally neck and neck, but Co-Andy just edging his teammate in the Evos. Then we've got Zom in P8, Gravity in P9, Nexus Cats in P10, and then it was Unsafe Release in P11. Nexus Iceman takes the final point, and City Posh Blue, my tip for the title, unfortunately has finished stone dead last in race number 1. However, we will see race number 2, where we're heading off to the horrendously awful track of Autopolis. That's just my own personal taste on the track. It's not to be said about it. You know, others might enjoy it, but yeah, it's certainly not one for me. But we'll have a few minute interlude now whilst we set up race number 2.
Obviously, Autopolis is not one of your favourites, but it is a track you've gone quickly at before.
Well, yeah. I mean, last time I drove Autopolis on the opening lap, I think it was down into turn 2. Oh, replays. Good point. Just gonna get a photocopy. God Christ! I'm living in 1985. A screenshot of the race results. We are all good to go. Yeah, and a certain FTRL switchback decided to absolutely pummel into me into the second turn and sent me backwards, and I then took you out through my spin, and me and you had to fight from the back of the grid. And I think we brought home, was it a P3 and P4 in the end?
It was.
Yeah, but I was a man possessed.
I was going to say, you were probably the quickest car on track. And you were very nice to me. You let me through, which sort of cost you in the long run.
It did cost me in the long run, to be fair. So, for those that don't obviously know, I mean, most of you will, but Pagani and I, obviously, we go back a very long, long way now. Christ, it's been about 4 years. And at this point of that season, I wasn't contesting for a championship, and we've always had this mutual respect agreement. I don't even know what you would call it really, but I knew that those extra 2 points would help Pagani in his bid for the championship, especially when I wasn't competing for it myself. However, it came down to the end of the season, and in the Group 3 championship, I ended up losing the championship to Pagani by how many points was it, Pagani?
It was those 2 points that you gave me in Autopolis,
yeah.
so yeah.
So, unfortunately, but nevertheless, it was, still, as long as it was one of us, mate, that was the main thing.
Oh, wow. Andy's car's bright.
Okay, yeah, so just before we get into obviously all of this, the Group 3 rules, so everybody is going to to do a mandatory 2-stop where they'll have to use the medium, the soft and the super soft tyre throughout this race at some stage. In what order they do that, in what style or fashion they do that, is entirely down to them. It is purely a case of you must use all of those tyres for at least one racing lap. So there's obviously no qualifying, and we will be starting on reverse grids from the previous race results. So SBY won race number 1, and he's going to be starting last in race number 2, and City Bosch Blue, who ended race number 1 in last position, will be starting in P1 on the grid. So yeah, we obviously will be moving on. This is a Group 3 championship, so for those that are unfamiliar with how the rules work, I'm sure most of you are, but we have an overall drivers championship table, so we will take into consideration race results from Group 4, Group 3 and obviously the pole positions, and then we will just have our own individual championship to see who's doing particularly well in either the Group 4 or the Group 3 category. But these are the Group 3 cars, so these are the faster of the two, and yeah, I mean, we will probably see a bit of a mix-up in terms of the pace. So I know some manufacturers have particularly fast Group 4s and not so fast Group 3s, and vice versa.
Well, I'm going to have to sit here and speak nicely about a Beetle for 40 minutes. That's going to be a struggle.
I mean, yeah, Coandy's gone full Simpsons, isn't he?
He has indeed, it's very bright.
Right. I'm just going to, if you guys will excuse me for just one moment, I'm just going to inform City Bosch Blue that he had the ABS glitch in that race. So bear with me a second. I don't know if you want to just have a quick chat, Pagani, and just talk about something. But you have to bear with me for just a second.
Well, obviously we just witnessed the Group 4 cars, the Group 3 cars. So for VW you have the Beetle, unfortunately, which is a very stable motor car. It looks after its tyres very well. You know what you're going to get from it. It's pretty much everyone's sort of go-to first car for Group 3. McLaren, you got the 650S Group 3. It looks fantastic. However, it can be very slidey in the back end, especially on medium tyres and slow speed corners. So it's gonna have to be watched very carefully by Unsafe and City Bosch Blue, who will hopefully get a bit better result in this race. You've got Alfa Romeos, it is probably one of the best handling Group 3 cars, but can run out of puff a little bit on the straights. There's not too big a straight around here, but it's sort of, it is what you get with the Alfa Romeo. It's a very small car, so it's very light. It helps with tyre wear, and it's not really gonna betray you at any point and throw you off into a wall, which is what you want from a car. The Mitsubishi, we've used it in Group 3 once before, a couple of seasons ago. I think half the field was at Mustang, half the field was at Mitsubishi Evo. It is a very solid car. It's a proven race winner before. I believe it's probably second or third on pace in Group 3. It's very, very quick. It has very good acceleration. It never really slides. It's sort of your best friend. So, can the two boys get the best out of it? I mean, Andy hasn't really got to grips with Group 3. He hated the Supra. It was very much a diva car. However, the Evo was very different. It inspires confidence. I know Aaron has driven it before. Who else do we have? We have the Citroen boys. Citroen Group 3 is an interesting one. It can be a very, very nice car to drive. However, the medium tyres and slow speed corners can be a little bit twitchy in the back end. But if you learn to drive it, you can drive it very, very quickly. So what do we expect from this race? It's very tough to say, with everybody starting on different tyres. I mean, I'm going through the grid and I think every single car's on a different tyre at the moment. So I say that everybody's just got on mediums. But how we split this race up is going to be interesting. Strategy with the compulsory tyres, we sort of threw that in as a rule last season and it made the races fantastic. Unless you were racing against Tom, who just seemed to blitz everybody. But I mean, Aaron suggested the rule and it's worked out fantastically. I had my indifferences about it, but I'm pleased he sort of changed my mind to it.
You don't like change, do you, Pagani?
No. But I am pleased that you went over that for me, because it has brought a different aspect to the Group 3 races. It's brought that bit of strategy, and you can't just go flat out every lap. You've got to think about when you bring pit stops, what tyres to go on it. Like, it's very, very difficult to get a race nailed down perfect in Group 3, because if you drive perfect, you're going to miss up on strategy a little bit. You can't focus on every single aspect of a race.
Yeah.
So,
when it's just it adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it? I think the idea of the mandatory 2 stops and whatnot is it definitely throws a spanner in the works. People have to adjust to driving these cars on different types of tyres at different times of the races with different loads of fuel. For those that obviously don't watch, i.e. people like my granddad and whatnot that watch the streams but don't obviously drive the cars, there is such a big difference in the way that the tyres feel at different stages of the race due to track temperatures and how much fuel's in the car. There's so many things that people have to take into account when they race, and this is the reason why, although sometimes people might look a little bit slower than others and whatnot, the differences and the things that they have to go through in one of these races is just mind-blowing. So everybody that does it deserves so much credit. But yeah, we're getting ready for lights out. We've got a front row of City Posh Blue and Nexus Iceman. Who's your tip for the race, guys? Put it in the chat for us. I'm going with an FTRL Junkie Sport win.
Ooh. I'm going to go Steph.
Going with Steph, okay.
Ooh,
Zom has had...
very quick.
Christ.
Very quick.
Zom has had an absolute lightning start. City Posh Blue is going to hold the race lead into turn 1. Gravity's completely straight lined the first corner and taken out about 3 or 4 cars. Wow, Zom is a massive casualty for that.
Oh, Junkie Sport is fighting Gravity.
Yeah, and Junkie Sport is now going to straight line across. Is he going to be able to hold the car? Yes, he is. Chaos at the start, but he's managed to get himself up to P2. And he started, what, 4th to last.
Peteman's dropped down the back. He's only in front of switchback now. He's had an awful start without spinning to turn 1.
Switchback 5.5 seconds off.
No. Just see what City Posh Blue put on the side of his car. Oh no.
Yeah, the Manchester City.
Yes.
Big Man City fan. In answer for that from Citroen in GT1 is myself, Pagani and Ross.
Howdy.
We did our research, mate. We did our research. However, just because it's fast off the line, we're pretty much useless everywhere else. So, it's all good.
I mean, you know me for all my bottle it anyway, so don't worry about it.
Must say credit to you, Flying Frame, because you lasted a full season. If I could if I could do like a little soundboard of people like clapping and cheering, I would do it. But no. Yeah, no, I'm just joking.
Caught up to the back of City Posh.
Now, I did see City Posh having a few wiggles at the start of this race during the practice and whatnot.
Ooh, are we about to go 3 wide into turn 1? You got Nexus Iceman and Gravity, 2 Beetles side by side, and Nexus Cats has missed the breaking point. Oh, he punted it with the Beetle. Gravity's in the gravel.
The Beetle's having a nightmare.
Beetle on Beetle action.
Yeah. SBY looking around the outside of Nexus Iceman. Can he pull this off? What a move this will be.
That is a ballsy move. He's got
that's
confidence in that car.
Oh, Junkie Sports off.
Oh my word. Everything's happening.
Yeah, for those that are watching, it's difficult to keep up with everything, especially on a track like Autopolis. There are so many twists and turns. It is horrific. City Posh Blue has a 2.2 second lead from Co Andy, who's in the Lancer. His nice Simpson. I quite like that car, to be fair. It's absolute chaos.
I did give that Lancer a bit of a run through, but I mean, you've driven it. You've driven it hard.
Yeah, I like
you
it.
Say he's got a chance this season in that car?
He certainly has in this car, yeah. Well, let's be fair. I mean, Flying Frome has picked it, so him and his guys will certainly get the very, very best out of that car. And for individuals of that sort of magnitude to pick that car, you would think that it's a very good decision. So the Group 4 isn't the best, but the Group 3 is a superb car. I imagine those guys are going to have a good season, and I'm very much looking forward to racing them.
Around the outside of Steph at the last corner. Doesn't get them, but he's very close going on the straight.
Yeah, he's proper close. Nexus Iceman unsafe release. Oh, what a camera shot this is.
Beetle versus a McLaren. I know which one I'd anticipate to win, but that Beetle has a habit of not stopping. Oh.
Unsafe's done well. That's a lovely livery. Unsafe's one, that West one. Gorgeous livery. God, look at this! Look at this cluster of cars. Donzo, Iceman, Steph.
Steph gets the move done.
Well, switchback. Now, I can't help but feel there's an element of karma to this. He obviously got
Autopolis.
Yeah, and lap 1. Like I said, for those that are watching, he did that to me a couple of seasons ago, and yeah, I can't help but feel there's an element of karma to that. So, but no, all jokes aside, let's hope he has a good, responsive race. Peteman's had a nightmare.
What was that? I've just seen Pete. I'm not sure what happened. He has been in the pits. He's on a soft tyre now.
Oh, okay. Well, City Posh Blue has had his gap halved by Co-Andy, who's also bought Junkie Sport and SBY with him.
Oh, and he's a little deep, gets away on the gravel. He's sideways, Junkie Sport's got him, SBY's there now.
Now, Junkie Sport is showing right now that he has got extremely good pace around this track.
Oh, City Posh has had a wiggle. Gap's down to less than a second.
Now we just need Junkie Sport to hold his nerve, not try and push too hard, not go for the first move that he sees. It just needs to be patient. Keep his head.
Oh! City Posh! He's in the pit, he's in the pit lane.
Wow. Nightmare for City Posh Blue.
Those medium tyres. Oh, Andy's Gone up inside a junkie spot into turn 1. SBY's right behind the pair of them. There's 3 tenths covering the top 3. Junkie spot showing his nose, but Andy holding his nerve. But 2 trains of 3, because 4th, 5th and 6th are very close together as well.
Well, Frome's finding you hilarious doing this commentary, Pagani, so keep it up, mate.
That might be why he wanted me to turn my mic up earlier.
Yeah. That's why I didn't want you to turn your mic up earlier.
Well, City Posh after that disastrous entry, he's come out behind Pete.
Oh, Junkie Sport, have a look up the inside of Coandy into the hairpin.
Oh, a little deep, but...
Yeah, he does. And SPY could follow him through. Look how small that Alpha looks compared to that Lancer.
I mean, the worst... He did have the overlap to SPY coming out the corner, but a little bit lack of straight line speed that Evo gets it back in a straight line. Unsafe release is doing what he can to get back on the back of this pair.
Yeah, I was literally just looking at that. Oh, SPY up the inside of Andy. It's a move done.
McLaren is looking a dog in that last sector.
Certainly is. Blue flag in the chat saying you want to hear him commentate when Matt Cause is racing. That is also a very good point.
That McLaren looks like a dog trying to get traction on Lino. Like, it's scrabbling everywhere for a minute, just can't find it.
Okay, Junkie Sport leads the way. I never thought I'd say that. 1.2 seconds ahead of SPY. I'm just joking. 1.2 ahead of SPY in P2.
Oh, City Posh has lost it in the background for last.
Comandy's off.
Oh no.
He's having a huge wiggle.
Oh, Donzo's inside of unsafe release.
Donzo. Yeah, is he going to make that stick? I think he does.
Oh, Andy, has he lost the rear tyre in that car? No?
So our tyre wear looks fairly even, but...
Oh, unsafe release is sent it up inside of Donzo. Bit of contact.
Prototype Steph lurking in his Venom car. Oh, I've heard tyre squeal. But I'm getting some amazing camera angles, but only pretty much for individual cars, not really for spectators.
Steph having a look at unsafe release into the hairpin. Gets the move done.
Well, Junkie Sport is trying to run away, but SPY is not letting him. Now, I'll be interested to see how these Alpha and Citroen cars react with wear on those rear tyres, on the mediums especially. But they've got a nice 2.5 second gap to Coandy, who is gone full bus mode. Unsafe release has just gone the wrong way.
Look at unsafe release's rear tyre wear.
That's where the problem was.
He slid that Mazda to hell and back last season.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's trying it in the McLaren, but it's not working at the moment.
I'm going to stay on board with him because I really hope he gets in the pits and gets off these tyres. Look at those rears. Please go into the pits unsafe.
SPY isn't. Oh, second place, man.
There we go. Yeah, Donzo's in as well. So they're all going for the 3 stop, I would assume. Junkie Sport is looking strong. I imagine he's probably just going to 2 stop this.
I'm going to say, I know Junkie Sport was running some strategies through with me, and this wasn't one of them, so he's made his own up, and it's going well so far.
Yeah, the only issue is he won't remember them, so he'd have to write them down on a bit of paper and refresh his memory. You're getting on a bit now with Junkie Sport.
Yeah, it's alright, like everyone else sits quietly to do it. He'll probably have his missus there with a pit board, just...
Dressed up as Rachel Riley from Countdown, giving him a bit of maths on a whiteboard.
Well, Andy's managed to contain his sliding, and Steph's up to P3 now with those couple of pit stops. You've got a Mitsubishi second and third.
There's a little battle going on for P6, P7. Peatman is defending from his teammate, Donzo.
Well, Simon's come in and says Junkie Sport's got post-it notes over his monitor.
At least come in with Rachel Riley, #4. I think I got enough emphasis on that for you, Lee. Apologies if I didn't. Okay, so the Alphas have filled the tank. Peatman, oh, sorry, no, Donzo hasn't, but SPY has. Oh, SPY, nice and yeah. I'm really liking how SPY is driving, I must say. Seems like he's composed himself. Peatman and Zom are close. Donzo's going to capitalise on this as well, is he? Junkie Sport is in.
Where did he come up in relation to these Alfa Romeos?
Yeah, switchback's in as well. Clatters into that pit wall.
So he is in front of his Junkie Sport.
No, I can't switch between them.
He has put a little bit of fuel in, so he's got more fuel than Pete and Donzo. Oh, Donzo's now braked himself into turn 1.
SPY's through. Yeah, is Pete going to let SPY go through, or are they going to battle for position? If he's going to be sensible, he would let SPY through. Oh yeah, he's done that. Well done from the Alpha boys. Teamwork is so important. Lee's just coming with more. No, Lee.
Well, we've got to admit it, Bushy 1 2 now with those pit stops, so
yeah, we certainly do.
Long on the medium tyre, so are we looking at seeing a 2 stop from these boys?
Well, they've got clean air. They've got nothing else to compete with at the minute. If they can take one pit stop off of everybody else, that's certainly going to bring them back into the play. I would certainly think. Now, I must say the Citroen liveries are very, very nice, all designed by Junkie Sport. As we know, he is the man for all of the for the team liveries and whatnot.
I'll stick with my Citroen livery. You'll see it tomorrow.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, if anybody, oh, we have a yellow flag. Go Andy. Oh, he's going to be fuming. He was in a really good position. Now he's dropping himself down, and he's slotted in just in front of Pete. Oh. I literally.
Andy now changed strategy in pit earlier.
I've just in Lee's comment. I need to stop reading these comments when I'm trying to drive commentate. My head's gone to the pits. It is horrendous. Is any of these guys coming into the pits?
Switchbacks having a look at Iceman going down into turn 1 when Nexus Cat's rapidly gaining on the pair in the second beetle.
Oh, Andy's come out just behind him as well. Society's not going to want to see the switchback down the inside of Nexus Cat's. Of Iceman, sorry. Cats tries to follow through. Stop it. Just because I said the words follow through doesn't always have to mean people are going to shit themselves, Pagani. Alright, we're talking about racing. Stop it.
I mean, I can't help it. He's what's in first place. Like. But SBY is a man on a mission.
Yeah, he certainly is.
Now? Both on the same tyre compound. Junkie Sport has a little bit less fuel.
Yeah, he's got about a quarter of a tank less, isn't he? So he needs to make this. It's quite an intriguing battle. This is always the point of the race when you're sort of midway through, and you're kind of trying to work out and anticipate who's going to be where in relation towards the end of the race. But
you're trying to think, who should I be battling? Should I let this guy go and race my own race? Or unsafe releases, fighting for a move around round the outside of gravity, which turned into the inside for gravity, but gravity hasn't pitted yet, so we're still on the mediums to start the race on, and they're getting very warm now. But he's in a beetle, which is, as you know, a very stable motor car.
It is indeed. Frome is saying this is getting me giddy for tomorrow. It is me as well. However, I'm just looking forward to prolonging my pain, I think.
In pit lane, and he did not hit the wall. So
there we go. Well, just for those that are watching and for those that are not taking part, tomorrow's race is obviously the debut week of the GT1 season for Season 8. We've got the Blue Moon Infield A circuit, so half of that is obviously just a speedway, so just one big long straight, and then we have about 6 corners to attend to. So it should be pretty close. I imagine some NASCAR type trains, and then straight afterwards we have literally got an oval, haven't we? Blue Moon Speedway. So it's all about strategy. People
I'm going to get dizzy.
Yeah, we just got a big oval, but pit stops and fuel saving and whatever else comes into play, and it's
strategy is difficult around there. The first race we did around there I managed to win. The second race I finished 13th. No, I finished 12th. So yeah, It's you've got to choose whether to save a bit of fuel or just run flat out at the front. Yeah.
Oh, City Posh Blues round again. He's having a nightmare.
He is indeed. He hasn't gelled with his McLaren just yet.
No. But let's hope he doesn't lose his motivation. The Junkie Sport is coming around to lap him.
I was saying, Junkie Sport has set fastest lap the last time through.
He's 4.6 clear of SBY in a minute. So,
he's charging.
And in response to your question, Frome, no, he has not. I don't believe Junkie Sport has had a podium either.
Not in GT, he hasn't.
No, not in GT. Correct. He's now 5 seconds clear. SPY is coming under pressure from Donzo.
Well, just a message for him. He thinks the Lancers are not going to enjoy the oval. I remember the daily race around there. The Evolution was the only car to use.
Yeah, so there was one not long ago from around Blue Moon Speedway, and everybody used the Lancer. So I think you're in the right car for that tomorrow, my friend.
So don't count your chickens just yet.
No, unless you've got several and you need to know how many you've got.
Yeah, then do count them.
Then do count your chickens, yeah.
Oh, Andy's run wide at turn
Andy's off.
one.
Peatman's through. It keeps happening to Andy.
I must say, looking at these cars, Peatman Group 3 livery as well it is fantastic.
I was just about to say earlier on, before we started talking about Junkie Sport, let us know in the stream who you think has got the nicest livery for their Group 3 cars.
Well, Frome's come back and said then again it is me we're talking about. A race based on fuel isn't my strong point.
No, that is true, Frome.
I just have this vision of Frome and Rom racing each other out of fuel, trying to get to the line first.
Like I did with FTRL Panda at Nordschleife for a few seasons back. We're trying to get up the hill in towards the final sector, or the final couple of sectors, with no fuel in the car. Andy's really pushing the boundaries of this car. He's now down in P9. He's not going to be too pleased with that, but if these guys can finish in the mid-pack, I think they will take that first week of the season. Junkie Sports extended the gap to 5.6 seconds. And SPY...
See what's been round again.
Yeah, SPY is only 1.3 seconds clear of Donzo.
I think at this rate, City Posh will be lapped by everybody besides Gravity and Nexus Iceman, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame. Let's just hope that City Posh is, we're going to call it a blip.
He's gone again. He's got no rear tyres left. He needs to put that brake balance towards the front.
Yeah, we'll drop a gentle word with him afterwards, and we'll help him out. Switchbacks recovered up to P5, so he's had a good race so far, considering his poor start. He's going to be gutted. He was looking to win this one. But he's 19.3 seconds behind his teammate, who's currently away.
What we got? Back with another good point.
What's that?
He will have Simmer in the party with him, who was Mr. Marth.
Yeah, good point.
So,
that's a very good point.
He does like a graph as well. So, yeah.
Well, we've got a big battle for P6. We've got Nexus Cats, Peatman, Co-Andy and Prototype Steph. And the battle for P6.
3 different car manufacturers in that battle. Because Peatman's a little wide, gives Nexus Cats the room on the inside.
Yeah. Steph was a little bit too nice to his teammate there and just decided to drive off the inside curb. Zom is trying to close up the gap to these guys.
Zom hasn't been on those soft tyres very long, and the rear left is wearing a lot quicker than the other tyres. Double the time of that currently.
Yeah. Well, SPY is the first to make the jump. He's into the pits.
He's got half a tank of fuel.
Is he going to fuel the car up? No, he doesn't. So he's going to have to put half a tank of fuel in, I think, at the end of this next stint.
So he's doing 10-minute stints, so he's splitting the race down, which is probably the easiest way to go about it.
Yeah, unsafe release is filling the car up, I believe. I'm just going to see where he comes out in comparison. Comes out in P10, just behind Zom.
Unsafe is usually very good on his fuel management and predicting how races are going to unfold. So.
Yep. Well, Peatman's just gone purple in the first sector. Oh, SPY have a huge kick out, trying to attack Switchback. Now Switchback can do his teammate a favour here if he holds up SPY.
Help Junkie out here. Does Junkie Spot come in this lap to cover off SPY? That's the question. Because Junkie Spot will have to put more fuel in than SPY did.
Yeah, Switchback literally being a massive bus now. The size difference between those two cars, it almost looks unfair.
That Citroen is a very long motor car. I mean, yes, the Alfa Romeo is a very short wheelbase. It pivots very quick in its own axis, but it can make it a little bit twitchy.
Yeah. Well, they're going well at the minute. Switchback is doing literally all he can. Junkie Sport is in.
Well, when he come out, he needs to put that bit extra fuel in. And what tyres does he go up?
I reckon he's going to go super softs. I've got a feeling.
Donzo's also in with no fuel in the car whatsoever.
Switchback and SPY coming around the final corner. Junkie Sport, is he going to come out in front?
Junkie Sport is still in pit lane.
No, Donzo's going to... Yeah, he's on... Okay, so he's filled the car right up. SPY hasn't, so... Junkie Sport is in P2. Donzo's come out a couple of seconds behind in P3, and Peatman is in P4. So we've just got an Alpha train with a Citroen in the middle. We've got Nexus Cats and Andy still fighting. Prototype Steph just behind still. I think it almost feels like a case of what could have been for Andy after he had that spin earlier on.
I think City Boys is really not enjoying this Autopolis circuit.
No, I feel for him at this stage. It's never nice to see somebody struggle, especially not people as lovely as City Posh Blue.
I must admit that Junkie Sport filling the tank isn't what I would have done personally, but he will have a lot shorter.
He will. Oh, Andy's off again. Ooh. We're entering the final stages of this race now.
Well, I think that battle for 5th, 6th and 7th will all be due a pistol very soon, but judging by the tyre wear.
Well, Junkie Sport is eating away at SPY's time. Or the gap, should I say. He's pulled away from Donzo, and SPY has half a tank less than him. So Junkie Sport will not have to put any more fuel in until, well, for this race. SPY has to put in at least half a tank, I would say.
Junkie Sport does need to do is make these super soft tyres last the full stint. You don't want to wear them out now, setting fastest laps. Obviously you want to close up a bit, but you've got a good 5-6 seconds pit stop difference in this last stop. You've got to make those super soft tyres last.
He has to get this right, Junkie Sport. In my opinion, he's still the prime favourite to win this. He just needs to make sure he gets this right. SPY's had a bit of a kick, but he's finding the time now on Junkie Sport. I think he's lost. Junkie Sports must have had a slight wiggle somewhere. He's lost a little bit of time, and Donzo's clawed up the gap slightly as well. But now we're going to go back down to this battle for P5. Nexus Cats is now ahead of Prototype Steph, and he's pulled the trigger first and has pitted. He's come out in P11, just a couple of seconds behind Zom.
I believe Andy had to put more fuel in than the two around him. I think he was quarter of a tank or 2.5 tanks, so if he can make this little undercut work.
Well, Pete's going to have to pit this lap because he's got no fuel left in that car at all. So Pete will be making his final pit stop, I would assume. Donzo, I believe, is just... No, he's going to have to come in and put some more fuel in that car.
Right on the back of Steph now. The inside.
Yeah, Steph yields.
Obviously, you won't see many overtake into that corner, but you need the help of the guy you're overtaking till you come. Wonder if he's looking on the outside of the beat, the Nexus Cats in the last sector. Obviously, much fresher tyres on that McLaren. Yep, Pete is in the pits.
Yeah, let's see where he ends up. Oh, Unsafe's had a huge wiggle. He's really having to wrestle that McLaren. Here he goes. He's attacking X's Cats down into the first corner. It's a lovely panning camera angle. Can he make the move? He's later on the brakes. The Cat's going for the switchback. Unsafe release gets it done. Lovely move.
Well, I've just been a little bit nosy and checked what mileage people have in the cars, but it tends to show how long they've been driving the car. And all of the Alfa Romeo boys are about 500 miles.
Right, so they've really put the time in.
The next closest is about 150.
Yeah.
So the Alfa Romeo boys have practiced, and it's paying off. If you put the time in, you will be quick. It's exactly the same thing that Tom did last season for GT1, and
Yep.
he smashed it.
He did. Switch back, looking up the inside next to his Cats into the hairpin. He's got the inside line. Cats tries to hold it around the outside, but that Citroen gets it done. Grippier tyres as well. Next to his Cat's doing well to drive on these very, very worn tyres in P6.
Pete's just pit, hasn't he? He's only got a third of a tank. So he's going for 2 short super soft runs by the looks of it to the end of the race.
Interesting call.
From asking how I checked that, it's just got your mileage underneath. Well,
Yeah, so underneath the fuel gauge, there's the numbers. So at the moment, Donzo's 467.5. Underneath the fuel gauge, next to the rear right tyre. Junkie Sports on an 87.5. I thought he'd be on more here, but okay. So Donzo's closed the gap to him. However, Donzo has literally got half a tank less in his car than Junkie Sport, and he has taken about a second out of SBY. So,
was it they're both closing on the race leader?
yeah, certainly are.
Both Alphas are pretty much exactly the same fuel. So,
Yep.
obviously running the same strategy. I
Yeah,
say
we'll
that, but Donzo's on the super soft. SBY's on the soft.
Yeah, well, Switchback's got clear now, and he's just got a clear unsafe release, and then he should be away. Unsafe release is very, very twitchy, but he's handling that McLaren very well. I can't help but feel, where is City Posh? I mean, he's done a reasonable amount of miles in this. I don't know. It just seems to be all over the place. You just can't keep the car on the track. He's going to go into the pits. So that's unfortunate to see. It's never nice to see.
I think we found out why From was having difficulty with his fuel. He thought the mileage indicator was something to do with fuel. He's also put don't check his mileage tomorrow, so that stands to reason that he's done a lot of mileage in the Mitsubishi.
Or literally none at all. But knowing From, I would imagine it's the first option.
Well, Donzo, he did say he was close on Junkie. He has set 3 fairly quick laps in a row, but Junkie's been going to match him. So he hasn't taken the best out of his tyres as Junkie. He's taken it a nice smooth approach. He's running to a lap time, done a 46.2, 46 flat, 46 flat. 5,000s between his last 2 laps.
Got the Switchback attacking unsafe release for P4. Final 10 minutes of the race.
Next to Iceman has just been lapped by the front boys.
Can Switchback hold this around the outside of unsafe release into turn 1 is contact? I mean, Switchback just sort of turned in on unsafe release there.
He has the habit of doing that, does that? Then going, oh no!
Yeah, unsafe releases then let Switchback through, so he's had a bit of a godsend there, a Switchback.
But From says he'd done 5 laps in each car. Well, I know one of them is a lie because she drove it in the Nations Cup for him. Hasn't been the best race for the VW team. We've got Beetle 11th and Beetle in 12th. Nexus Cat's flying the flag currently in P8.
I'm keeping an eye on his battle at the lead, for the lead, sorry. Junkie Sport's taken another second out of SBY, and Donzo's within 7 tenths. So
Like,
they
I think
are.
both Alphas will be in this lap. If Junkie's Sport is on the money, he'll be pitting with them, but he'll have a lot less fuel for any to put in. There's only 9 minutes remaining.
Well, let's see. Who's Junkie Sport? Yes, he does.
Sport's in.
Junkie Sport's going to get a nice jump on both of these. Switchback going to follow.
All I can say is, thank God Donzo didn't help his teammate not break into the pit lane, then just punt Junkie Sport into the wall.
Yeah. Switchback's coming through. He's going to jump into the pits. Unsafe release is going to follow him. And Peatman is going again.
He's got a 5-second gap. Let's be right. Yeah, Pete has fuel for 1 lap, so I don't know if he's changed his mind on the strategy and gone late with the free stop, or
God knows. Well, there's not too much going on at this stage. I'm just trying to see if anybody's particularly close. Zom's into the pits. Comandy's in pursuit of Nexus Cats, who's on fresh super soft, so those guys are going to be going to the end. That is a battle for position. It's been going on for the entire race. Doesn't look like, I mean, Pete's going to have to come into the pits definitely at the end of this lap. Other than that, I think everybody's done their final stops.
well, Franz managed to forget that he finished second in the Nations Cup on Tuesday. So
Nexus Cats has left the room, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there.
he's still there on my screen.
Is he?
He's in P8.
Oh, okay. Maybe just some issues my end then, but strange. You have to fill me in if anything's happening.
Well, Andy's still chasing him down. I say closing down, there's only half a second between the pair. So I'll try and keep everyone updated with him, even though no one else can see him, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, Junkie Sport 6 seconds is the gap. SBY.
Well, From's quite happy that his Group 4 car actually leaves the line this season, so he won't have to make up 6 places at the start of every race. 8 is in. I mean, he won't have to put too much fuel in, but Nexus Cat and Andy are coming. Oh, Andy's back in the pit lane.
Maybe Andy feels that those tyres are just too bad. Well, Switchback has recovered well. I can't see him getting Donzo by the end of this race. 11.5 in what, 3 or 4 laps?
Well, Pete has come out, what, 3.5 seconds behind Steph? You know, fresh supers. We've seen the Alpha quick. Can you make any inroads up to that Lancer?
Nexus Iceman letting SBY through. Nicely done.
We've got a battle for 10th place between Zol and Gravity. I think Zol has not long got past Gravity. That's not just opening it out. I think it's pulling away from SBY. So, I mean, Touchwood is looking quite well at the moment. Let's hope he doesn't do an F1 and crash in the last lap.
No.
Did I say that? Oh. No.
Well, Donzo's just gone quickest, 1:45 flat. He's taken nearly a second out of his teammate. From when we last checked in.
Since he pitted, did a 45.1 and a 45 flat, so very consistent pace.
Oh yes.
Which is something that we haven't really seen from Donzo for the last couple of seasons. It's probably been the one thing he's been missing out on, so if he's added that to his game with all of this practice he's been doing.
Right, has Gravity just left for you?
No, he has not. He's in P11.
Okay, so for some reason I'm glitching. So Let's hope it doesn't happen again for the last 4 minutes of the race. I mean, I was getting excited for poor old City Bosch sitting in P11.
Yeah, he's still in 13th, unfortunately.
Yeah.
3 minutes 44 off the lead. I mean,
Well,
when things go badly, they go very badly.
Yeah, well, let's just hope it was the same as what happened with me last season. First week, just absolute nightmare, and then it was all up from there. So, well, Peatman has caught onto the back of prototype Steph, so we do have a battle for P6 to enjoy for the last couple laps of the race.
Indeed, and you can see both cars, so...
I can, it's just like one of them doesn't go, touch wood.
Pete's tyres are much more worn, especially on the front compared to Pete. Not along those super soft though. Pete looking much quicker through this last sector. There's a lot of 90 left and 90 right corners.
Yeah.
That will be very quick through there.
So in answer to Deluxe question, he said, so Cats and Gravity will have different results. They will obviously be classified from what the actual lobby says. My one is, I think I'm having just a bit of a game glitch, unfortunately. It doesn't tend to happen with me at all, really, but it happens from time to time.
I'll just get the results board and...
Yeah, just get the screenshots for us, mate, and then we'll crack on from there. But yeah, final 2 laps of the race. Junkie Sport 6.5 seconds to SBY, who has got 1.8 to Donzo, so Donzo is catching his teammate. However,
I mean, I don't want to say anything too soon, but...
Donzo's fuel?
I mean... No, I was going to say the first race we had, obviously had Alfa Romeos at the front. Simmons weren't too far behind, and the second race we got a Simmons leading the way, so it's not going to be one-way traffic in GT2.
No, not at all. I saw Deluxe posted a message saying SPY is too quick for the division. I can promise you that over the course of the season, the different tracks will benefit different cars, and we will have multiple winners this season. I can certainly assure you of that. It'll be the same in GT1 as well. It wouldn't surprise me if we have 6-7 different winners in both divisions.
I mean, as long as I win one race, I'm happy.
That's what I want to do.
7 seasons, I've won a race each season. So.
Yeah, I haven't. That's all I'm going to say. Well, Peter's got past Steph. To be expected, I think, with those tyre difference. Now, is Co-Andy in front or behind Nexus Cats?
He is behind Nexus Cats by 6.7 seconds.
Okay, so Nexus Cats is P8, Andy's P9, Zom is P10, Gravity P11?
He is indeed. He is 9 seconds behind Zom and 60 seconds in front of Nexus Iceman.
Okay, so that won't be changing then. Okay, well, Junkie Sport has 1.5 laps to go. Donzo is within a second of his teammate.
So 1.5 laps to go. The Alfa Romeo fuel situation is
interesting, to say the least, isn't it?
Alonso's in the red, so if we have... To be fair, this might be the last lap. 30 seconds remaining, there's 40 seconds to the line from here.
Yeah, true. So this could be the one.
Well, for a monster title, it's become a thing now when it's doing his head in, so...
Okay, well, Junkie Sport is coming around. It's extremely slowly, just trying to make sure it's all going to happen for him. He's going to come round the final couple of corners to win
really slowly.
his first ever race in FTRL, and I could not be happier for him. Congratulations to FTRL.
Trying to get past his teammate.
Push to the end. Junkie Sport has won his first ever race in FTRL. He's won the first Group 3 race of the season in Season 8 of GT2. Massive congratulations to him. I could not be happier for him.
4th place after being last on lap 1. So.
There we go. Junkie Sport takes the win. SBY comes home in P2. Cracking drive from him this week. Donzo in P3. Switchback has brought the car home for P4. Unsafe release in P5. Yeah, Pete in P6. He'll be hoping for a bit better, but I'm sure we'll see that. Prototype Steph in P7. Nexus Cats in P8. Co-Andy in P9. Zom is going to bring home P10. Gravity P11. Nexus Iceman P12. And City Posh Blue, unfortunately, missing out once again. But all the attention is going to go to the Citroen man, who had to unfortunately take a bit of a break due to health reasons during the latter stages of last season, but is back, and he's back with a bang.
Well, this is the first season in a good 4 or 5 that he hasn't been teammate with Michael, so maybe it was Michael holding him back.
I think it was, yeah. I think anybody's probably at a disadvantage when they're paired with a Scouse.
I mean, you have more wheels than anybody else, but that does mean more weight, so...
Yeah, there we go. Junkie Sport takes the win, and that is going to wrap up week number 1 of GT2 of season 8 of FTRL.
Morning.
Yeah, everyone's delighted. So yeah, well, thank you all very, very much for joining us this week, and we hope you've all enjoyed the racing. We tried to make it as interesting as possible. Next week I have absolutely no idea where we are, but for tomorrow we have got the Blue Moon Infield A and the Blue Moon Speedway for GT1, and believe me when I say this season is going to be absolutely crazy. This is the strongest grid we have ever had by a country mile. We've got no idea who's going to win. The preparations are pretty much done. Everybody's now just wondering where they're going to be, where their pace is going to be, and even after tomorrow's races, it's probably not going to give a fair reflection on everyone's pace, because we are pretty much racing at a speedway. So it's a case of just making sure you get your strategies right and drive in a circle.
Next week's GT2 races are going to be crackers. You've got Dragon Trail Gardens and Bathurst.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. We can't give you anything more than that. Okay, so you've got 2 cracking tracks for next week. We've got some real exciting stuff happening tomorrow. If you want to see some real kind of NASCAR type racing, come and join us tomorrow evening. But that'll be live streamed, unfortunately, by Switchback. You might not all understand him, but well, yes, YouTube did provide subtitles. Yeah. So yeah, but no, thank you very much. Thank you to Pagani as always for putting all of this on and helping us out with the commentary.
Pleasure to be here.
And we will see you all next week. So thank you very much and good night.